How do I find a new job? How can I make a career change? And the biggest question of all, can I really find a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to be at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I get what companies are looking for when hiring top talent. What that means for you is an unmatched combination of insider knowledge and the best kept secrets about making heart-based career changes and navigating the ups and downs of job searching in today's world of work. Whether you're a recent graduate navigating the job market for the first time or a seasoned professional ready for a career change, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to be challenged and inspired to move beyond your self-doubt and take the right next steps towards landing a career you love. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy, and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm Jen Smith, your host, and today we're wrapping up our latest series, From Classroom to Career. The first episode was all about crafting your resume as a student or recent graduate. Although I must say, even if you're a seasoned professional, that episode has plenty of top tips for resume writing in today's world of work. In part 2, we discussed the importance of internships and how to make the most of your experience. And today, in part 3, we're exploring uncertainty. As you transition from classroom to career, there are many unknowns, but each challenge presents an opportunity for growth. And I also have to say that this topic is equally relevant and beneficial for career changers, transitioning to a new industry or company, moving from one role to another, often encounters these very similar uncertainties and challenges. Exploring the unknowns of transition can help both recent graduates and career changers understand the shared experiences, like adapting to a new work environment, learning different skills, or navigating unfamiliar situations. Recognizing these challenges as opportunities for personal and professional development can help you approach your transition with resilience and curiosity. So today we're going to start with what happens inside of us when we're faced with uncertainty. Then we'll get into strategies to help you embrace uncertainty and move forward. We'll discuss following your heart instead of feeling the pressure to have everything figured out or following all of those shoulds, what you should be doing. We'll specifically talk about how to follow the clues to navigate your path, and then wrap up with some practical ways to think about planning your heart-based path post-graduation. Let's dive in first into understanding uncertainty. So here's the thing, my friends. Our brains are wired for survival. When we're faced with uncertainty, our primal instincts kick in and it triggers a sense of apprehension. Our brains have this incredible survival mechanism that's been passed down through generations, and it kicks into gear when things are unknown. It's like this ancient alarm system that's kind of built into us to keep us safe in the wild. So back in the day when our ancestors were roaming around in the wilderness, not knowing what was lurking behind every tree or bush, this instinct was a lifesaver. It helped them stay cautious and avoid danger. Now, fast forward to today. Even though we're not dodging wild animals in our daily lives, that same instinct still fires up when we're faced with uncertainty, especially big changes like graduating from college or high school or making a career pivot. It's kind of like our brains are saying, hang on, what's happening here? This feels risky or this feels scary. And that's totally normal. Understanding that our brains are just doing their job by trying to keep us safe can be a game changer. So instead of letting that uncertainty paralyze us, we can recognize it for what it is, which is a natural reaction to stepping into the unknown. So when you're thinking about moving into a new phase of life or switching careers, that nervous feeling starts creeping in. When that happens, remember that it's just our brain doing its thing. It doesn't mean you're making a mistake or heading for a disaster. It's just a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, which is where all the goodness happens. So I would encourage you to embrace it. And who knows, you might just surprise yourself with what you can achieve. And the truth is, uncertainty is inevitable in today's fast-paced and ever-changing world. So acknowledging that our brains are wired to perceive uncertainty as a threat can be really empowering. So we can use that to reframe it as a signal that our brains are working as they should. It's alerting us to pay attention and adapt to new circumstances. So I don't know about you, but when I learned that, it was really helpful for me when I made every change in my career. So now let's talk about the reality of a heart-based path. And I use the word path for a reason. A path represents a direction forward. Paths are rarely straight and narrow. They twist, they turn, they rise, they fall. They lead us through uncertainty and different challenges. And I know that stepping out into the quote unquote real world can feel incredibly daunting, especially when it seems like everyone around you has their entire life planned out. You might feel pressure to have your career mapped out perfectly, or you might be overwhelmed by all the shoulds coming from your family, your friends, your community. But let me tell you a little secret. Hardly anyone has it figured out. Most of us stumble into our careers through trial and error, happy accidents, and moments of serendipity. So if you're feeling lost or uncertain about what comes next, just take a deep breath and give yourself some grace. You don't need to have all the answers right now. In fact, embracing the unknown can lead you to incredible opportunities that you might not have ever even thought of. So instead of figuring it all out, focus on following your heart. I recently listened to a podcast and they talked about heart magnets. I love that image of just thinking about your heart with a magnet on it and what's being drawn to you. What are you excited about? What makes you come alive? What kind of impact or what interests do you have? Exploring different paths and trying new things, making mistakes, all of this is okay and it's part of the plan. Each experience is going to teach you something super valuable and bring you closer to the next best thing. Now, with that, I wanted to talk a little bit about noticing and following the clues. So think about those things that are drawn to that heart magnet. What are the clues? This is something I wish someone told me about when I was navigating my career. I always thought I had to have it all figured out. Nothing ever felt like it fit right. I was super anxious and just running to the next thing, whatever came my way, without a plan. So let's go back to this idea that no one has it figured out. Long gone are the days when we stayed in one thing for 35 or 40 years. So here's something to consider. Follow those clues of curiosity. These clues are going to come in a lot of different forms. So it might just be a moment of inspiration or some type of serendipitous encounter or a gentle whisper. I remember when I wanted to try self-employment, I just had this whisper in the back of my head telling me to start writing resumes and helping people with writing resumes for their career. And it was just this little whisper and it never went away. So that's an idea of what a clue might feel like. They're really like these breadcrumbs and they're scattered along our path and inviting us to pay attention or to follow where they're leading. Sometimes the clues are obvious. They can feel like just a fire in your belly. Sometimes it's a natural talent that brings a lot of joy that you're super excited about. Other times it's a little more elusive. So maybe it's a chance conversation with a stranger that sparks an idea and gives you a nudge to move in a different direction. What I will say here is that no clue is too small to notice, and no path is too insignificant to explore. Each clue is going to guide us closer to the next best role or company or an experience. And when you think about your career and that path, it really is a series of experiences. And I love that thought. So instead of thinking of a specific job, maybe you want to think of a specific experience that you want to gain. Or maybe you're in a job and you're really curious about a certain experience and you want to figure out how to bring that into your path. So now let's talk about how to notice the clues. It starts with presence, being fully engaged in the present moment and receptive to what the universe brings you. So this is about quieting the noise of our busy, chaotic lives and listening to our hearts. This takes a little bit of time, and it's not something most people are familiar with or even know how to do. I remember feeling like I was on autopilot. I never stopped to just pause and reflect and think about what those clues are that might bring me career enjoyment or fulfillment. I shared in last week's episode that something drew me to that internship at the EEOC. I had no idea why, but I was so determined to work at the EEOC for no money, by the way, and gain experience in that professional environment. Now, looking back, of course, hindsight is 2020, it was a significant piece of my path. It introduced me to human resources, which is where I spent 15 years of my career. Now, remember, that shift didn't happen overnight. It took me 4 years of navigating through different roles and operations and then eventually finding my place in HR, even though that experience with the EEOC was during college. So sometimes there's clues, we're drawn to them, we're not really sure why, and that requires trust. It requires courage. It requires that courage to step outside our comfort zone, embrace the unknown a little bit, and trust that it's going to work out. Now, if you recall, my first job post-graduation was far from glamorous. I worked the graveyard shift in a potato chip factory, leading a team of over 30 people through trade-off decisions every shift. Talk about the unknown and having no prior experience. It literally felt like a leap of faith every single decision I made. There was so much fear. There was so much uncertainty. Just think about a manufacturing facility, a huge facility. There's pipes everywhere. There's steam. There's all these things happening. I didn't even know which way to turn. It was super intimidating. But looking back, I realized that that experience was completely instrumental in shaping my resilience, my adaptability. It taught me that embracing discomfort is often going to be that first step towards growth. Another time when I was completely terrified was when I left corporate and started self-employment. I had no idea what to expect. It was completely unknown. I was so used to having packed days with all the meetings and traveling to different locations and having my team working alongside me and having lots of colleagues to collaborate with. And being by yourself in self-employment was just a completely unknown area. But I followed that clue. There was that heart magnet. It was whispering. It had been whispering for years before I made the leap. And now we're going on 5 years. So this is really about letting go of your need for uncertainty and control and doing a little bit of surrender just to the flow of the universe. It's not about meticulously planning every step, but just kind of trusting that things are going to fall into place the way that they should. It might not always feel good, but looking back, I promise you, you'll understand why. The truth is that the universe always has our back, and fulfillment is rarely linear. So as you navigate this post-graduation or career change time, pay attention to the clues surrounding you. Notice what gives you energy and what you're feeling drawn to. That may lead to your most extraordinary adventures. So now that we've discussed uncertainty and how to notice and pay attention to the clues, let's talk a little bit more about the practical steps in creating a heart-based path. I always say that pretty much everything we do is a combination of mindset and strategy. So we kind of talked about the mindset of uncertainty. Now let's talk a little bit about the strategy and some things that you can do to craft your heart-based path. Heart-based career planning always starts with some reflection. I love encouraging folks to reverse engineer their careers based on the lifestyle they want to lead. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've always dreamed of living as a digital nomad, traveling the world while you work remotely, which is totally doable in today's world of work. So maybe you love the idea of exploring new cultures. You love experiencing different landscapes and living life on your own terms. However, you're not quite sure how to make it happen or what career path could support this lifestyle. Here's where the reverse engineering comes in. So define your ideal lifestyle very vividly. So how would you describe this digital nomad? Where specifically do you want to travel? What accommodations do you envision? How do you want to spend your work hours? What hours do you want to be working? The more detailed you can be, the better. And then from there, you want to determine what careers are compatible with that lifestyle. So look for careers or industries that align with those components. For example, if you are interested in that digital nomad lifestyle, you might explore freelance writing, graphic design, web development, online tutoring, virtual assistants, digital marketing. There's tons of different roles out there that you could do while traveling the world. These careers often offer flexibility and they really promote that remote work that you would need to live that lifestyle. So once you define your lifestyle, then I always encourage folks to think about impact and energy. So impact is the industry you want to make an impact in or something that's interesting to you. And then your role is a job that generates your energy. It's not just what you're good at. So when you first graduate, you might not know, and that's okay, but just taking one step towards something you're drawn to is an excellent step. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you're super interested in science, whether it's biology or chemistry or physics or another field. Take a moment to reflect on specifically what draws you to each area. Maybe it's the complexities of living organisms or the environment in biology. Perhaps it's those reactions in chemistry that excites you. By noticing and diving into these different elements of science that resonate with you most, you can start to uncover your interests and then tailor your career path accordingly. Let's say you decided on biology. So that's the part of science that you're super interested in. So now we have this big umbrella of biology, and then you want to break it down even further. What pieces of biology are you drawn to? Let's say it's environmental or conservation. Then you can start to look for organizations in environmental and conservation. Another aspect under that biology umbrella might be biotech companies. So these are organizations that use biological systems and living organisms to develop products and technologies for all kinds of industries. So once you do that for the industry, that can help you narrow down to companies that are exciting for you. And then you want to do the same thing with the role or function. Now, the hard part here is that job titles mean different things across all different organizations and industries. So the idea here is to think about work that generates your energy. Again, not just what you're good at. Sometimes we're good at things, but we don't like it. So I encourage you to think about both. Something that generates your energy and that you're good at. Let's say, for example, that you love numbers and working with numbers comes really easy to you. Maybe you want to try out a job analyzing numbers. So now we have an industry impacting the environment, which is something you're interested in, and your day-to-day job involves analyzing numbers or finance. So now you can see this coming together. Maybe you start looking for financial analyst jobs at environmental companies. When you think about that, environmental companies, like every single business, requires financial management to ensure their operations are sustainable. So a financial analyst or a junior level data analyst plays a crucial role in budgeting, forecasting, financial planning to help these organizations manage their resources effectively. And remember, you don't have to get it right away. So maybe you go into this role as a financial analyst at an environmental company and something doesn't feel quite right. So you get in there, you get some experience. Again, you're following the clues to your next best role. And that's the beauty of a career path. It is going to meander along the way. So as we conclude today's episode and 3-part series, I want you to know that navigating uncertainty is daunting, but it's also an incredible path of growth. So instead of letting uncertainty hold you back, see it as an opportunity for exploration and trust yourself to follow those clues or those heart magnets. And I love this quote by Margaret Drabble. She's a highly acclaimed English novelist. And she says, "When nothing is certain, everything is possible." So in this series, we've covered a lot of ground, from crafting your career story and resume to making the most of internships, embracing uncertainty, and following your heart in your career path. As we conclude this series, we are also bidding farewell to season 4 of the podcast. However, stay tuned. I will return soon to kick off season 5. This new season promises to offer a fresh perspective with new topics and insights. And it's going to be a little bit different. It's an experiment, and I can't wait to share it with you. In the meantime, if you are a recent graduate and need a boost to get your job search off the ground, check out the playbook, Jumpstart Your Job Search. I'll help you by providing personalized resume feedback and guidance on crafting an attention-grabbing cover letter. The playbook also equips you with strategies to impress hiring managers in interviews, and it will help you master your elevator pitch. So this comprehensive playbook will help you gain confidence and knowledge to secure your first job successfully. So head on over to flourish.careers/shop, and I'll also add the link to the show notes. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back in just a few weeks with the kickoff to season 5. Of course, you can find the notes from today's episode and this entire series on the blog at flourish.careers/blog. Talk to you next time.